Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to BeamNG Drive, the sandbox vehicle simulator that is, in reality, so much more than the soft body destruction physics that it's known for. I've been itching to come back here for a long time, and now we finally got the chance. A couple years back, I explored a couple maps by creator Spencer Johnson, who has now reached out to me with a new one. Back then, I played Night Drive and Liminal Spaces, and this one is simply titled Liminality. Those of you who have watched me a while know I love driving horror, because there's so much that can happen. And it's creepy and comfy as well, because most of the time you have the serenity of being alone on the open road in an unfamiliar place, and feeling protected by the metal box that surrounds you, but knowing just how fragile it really is, especially if it decides to stop carrying you any further. I imagine that this is going to be more the unfamiliar places genre, and I'm not quite sure, I don't remember how to start this, so let's just have a look around. Ah, here we are. We can actually still see Night Drive and Liminal Spaces back here. So here we are. Enjoy this bit of meta levity. It sort of reminds me of the Gary's Mod horror map start rooms. But look, there's a reason why I said I've been itching to get back into this game. Well, actually 3 reasons, but I'll start with the first. So last year, I played a map, I think it was Complex, it may have been its sequel, that ended in us finding the wreck of a car in the back rooms, smashed against a wall and burned to a crisp, and that was horrifying to me, because it's always been scary how one can simply glitch out of reality and end up trapped here. But imagine doing that at 60 miles an hour, just cruising alone down the highway, and suddenly there's a wall in your face that wasn't there before, and you're just injured in a place where no one can ever find you. But I also thought to myself, what would it be like if that didn't happen, if you had enough time to stop, and you were actually stuck in the back rooms with a functioning vehicle under you? Well, we're going to get to experience that today. The 2 other reasons I wanted back here are because we have 2 new levels of immersion to help us out here. Last time I did it with a mouse and keyboard, and you guys said I should up my game, and I have, in 2 ways. So first of all, I'm not looking around using the mouse right now. This is actually Track IR, so it's fully tracking my head movements. You can probably hear my voice moving around the mic. And we've also got a proper wheel and pedal setup, so I am 100% in this now. Welcome to Liminality, an in-between state, space, or condition. It relates to a transition or threshold, the crucial point of change where one phase ends and another begins. This is an art experience exploring uncanny and dreamlike locations. This is an auditory and visual experience. Your perception is created by self. What if perception shared itself? And all from the comfort of our car. It's sort of like what drive-ins were back in the day. Ooh, this thing's got a bit of power behind it. Experience guide. Take your time, explore, and live in the atmosphere. You're encouraged to walk around in first person to explore specific areas by pressing F on the keyboard. Don't forget to get back to your vehicle. So we can get out and walk around a bit. That was something we messed around with on the Liminal Spaces map, but it seems like here it's an intended part of it. 3 things of note. There's a bug where sometimes when you get out of your car, it will make the car start driving on its own. Bug or haunting? You be the judge of that. Use the ETK I-Series 3000i as your vehicle, already ahead of you, and adjust the game settings via the next billboard. Wow, I feel like I'm in some kind of liminal drive-through. Set quality to ultra, or at least have the lighting to ultra, depth of field off, anti-aliasing to SMAA, and bloom on. Oh, it is so cool being able to just, like, look around, you know? Peek over my shoulder, and rock my head back and forth. Lean out the window to yell at the jerks in traffic, even if it means putting it straight through glass. Alright, in we go. I think. Ow. Okay, no, where does one actually go? Also, it's very, very weird having the pedals reversed. Oop. And here we are. Oh man, you were not kidding about upping the light levels. It's a huge part of this. Wow, this is, not easy. Wait, why is this behaving so weirdly? On the one hand, it's almost more Cradle-like, you know, being able to just kind of rock through the halls in our vehicle. It feels a little safer, like we're on like a Disney boat ride. But then we see what happened to some of the other folks who came through here, and we don't feel nearly quite as safe, huh? Well, certain objects are closer than they appear, I guess. That's another issue. It messes with our depth perception. We want to keep this vehicle intact, but we also... we're maneuvering through some pretty narrow spaces. Look at you clipping through there. Yeah, I definitely think the wheel and pedals would have been better off for night drive. Look at that, the ghostly covered furniture. Alright, how did we get out? That was F. And for this, we can simply walk around, but we still... Oh, we're walking with track IR. That's weird. Okay, so this was... What I'm learning is that this was the worst time for this, but the sort of multi-medium in and out of the car is a great way to take this, like if you're going to do a backrooms exploration. On the one hand, you feel a bit freer. It's easier to move when you're away from it, but you gotta make sure you can find it again. You can sprint like this. Let's see what's down here. I get real nervous when I can't hear much. Oh, look at that. It would appear we are actually one of many vehicles to end up in this place. Not a vehicle, but a radiator. Wow. Alright, once again though, we want to make sure we don't get too far. Only little on-foot explorations at a time. That's annoying. This is a really, really cool and ambitious project, but probably the worst for a wheel and track IR. Alright, well, we're back in now. Let's continue our exploration with the weirdly reversed pedals. The backrooms are so clearly not built for a vehicle like this, and so we're in this situation where it's burdensome to bring this thing around. But do you really want to be without it? Okay, this way. There is something akin to the spot from before. Oop, wrong pedals. Why can't I change them? Yeah, I am definitely wishing the hallways were at least a tad wider. It's very hard to spin the wheel around in time to actually make your way through this with any kind of reasonable speed. Look at that. Massively oversized couch just fused with the wall. Oh my god. You know, oddly enough, that hits somewhat harder when I'm in a car. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of unbearable. I swear that pun was not intended. It says to use a gamepad, but I've been waiting for this for too long to do that. Howdy buddy, how's the missus? Are these imported, or are these props that are actually available in base BeamNG? I don't know. I'm actually kind of surprised that you're able to make maps like this. Like, is this made in some kind of in-game editor, or is it using mod tools? Either way, it's super far outside the intended use case for this sim, and that's what makes it so fascinating. You're coming. A little forward at a time. Just kind of idling down the roads. It's the only way to do it. Gotta imagine if I see a shadow of someone in the back seat. Whoa. The architecture itself is starting to get kind of weird now. I mean, I had mentioned this feels like a Disney boat ride, but I want to revisit that for a moment. Yeah, there's... Whoa, 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 whoa. What is this? It's like a storefront, but without the store. It's legitimately like when you're on some kind of flume ride or something and you're just watching everything pass by on your sides. Okay, there, that thing at the end. That sort of reminds me of a certain entity I've encountered before. But it's not. It's just the twisting legs of an office chair. Just about everything we found is clipped directly into the wall. Okay, where are we going? Looks like we bent our mirror back a little bit to look directly at ourselves. That's a defect that would probably start to feel less like a coincidence and more like a taunt after a while. Oh, that's where I want to be. Look at that, there's like a blurry smear in the middle of the wall texture. I wonder what would cause that. But it's kind of like driving down the halls of an office like Jeremy Clarkson in that tiny car. Doing all of this just makes the movement very laborious, but also very satisfying. Wait, look! That couch is shrouded in plastic, like an old Italian woman in the 80s living room. It makes me think it was sitting in like a storage warehouse or some abandoned home, and somehow managed to find itself here. Okay, again, just a little bit of gas, and let momentum do the rest of the work. Actually... Wait. Oh, there, definitely we want to see. But do I still have my lights bound up? Not that. That. Okay, so it's not so dark we need it, but it is some comfort. And a little atmospheric. I want to go to that big area we found, but at the same time... There really is an office! Sort of. I wonder if any of those computers have internet. I don't know what would be worse, not being able to get the word out that I'm here, or being able to, and just becoming some sort of internet mystery. Okay, instead of trying to turn around, I'm just gonna reverse out of here. A couple of windows at weird angles. If we make the turn into here, we can probably loop back to the office space, right? Assuming any of these will actually be open. Which... they are. Oh no, not windows, cabinets. I take it back, the added immersion is definitely, well, adding something to this. It just makes it considerably more difficult. Of course, the one time I take people's advice on sim equipment, this is where we end up. A massive, low-ceiling room with a giant... Is that a pit in the center? No. It's not a pit, at least not from the look of it. But a dip. Oh, that is so weird. But potentially a playground for a vehicle that's been restrained for far too long? Hang on, let's try this. Get down there. I'll be like one of those stunt bikers that rides around the Ring of Fury. Feels good to let loose a little bit, and look. At the other end, a wall. There's like AC units in the windows, and in fact, it's kind of like coming upon some kind of like resort motel. White picket fence in front and everything, and what looks like grass, but who knows if it can be trusted. It's not real grass unless you can eat it. This map is really taking advantage of the clipping to give it some architecture that's unique even by liminal exploration standards. Like, we can even see the wall going right over the lights. at a glance, regular backrooms exploration, but it has that terror of being huge in a way that you can show to the player more when you have a means to cross those areas more quickly. Of course, you know that this car has to run out of gas sooner or later, and then you've lost your lifeline. I was able to see this from far away, so if I can find where I saw it from, I'll be able to get back to the office. Are you meant to be a statue, or... Actually, no. Look at that, your texture is made entirely out of fabric. A recreation that was somehow conjured by this place of a real person, or just a representation even from where it was taken from? We'll never know. Imagine how creepy it would be if it looked like us. Track IR gets a little weird when it comes time to walk around. Even your feet are submerged in the carpet. I think this level is taking more chances with, like, strangeness than these usually do. You know, something I've always disliked in discussions of, like, the backrooms and such is the idea that there are rules. That this level is this, and this is what can happen here. I think that is kind of taking away from the overall point. That the place makes no sense, that it can't be understood. Then we'll be able to find our way back to the office, right? Hopefully, one really hopes. There it is. Yep. See, I'm just showing up for work. But it kind of seems to me like these things are freakishly tall, does it not? Not really, not when we stand beside them. These things back right up against the cubicle walls. Every time I see something in the back rooms, I try to think about the story of how it ended up there, because when you think of people ending up here, it's like you made just the wrong movement, just the very wrong, ultra-specific thing that brought you here and out of reality. But how do objects do it? Do they just vanish one day? Is this where all our socks in the dryer go? And how does it happen in perfect formation just like this? Are all of these from different offices? Or was an entire office floor just transported here, and if so, did it bring any people with it? And did they wander off, never to be seen again, leaving nothing behind? I'm just saying, not all of these chairs are perfectly aligned like the cubicles themselves are, almost like someone stood up. That's a terrifying thought. I mean, imagine it even happening like during an office closing. Everything's being moved out, it's supposed to go. One day the janitor comes in and the entire floor worth of stuff is gone, and they just think, oh, the guys must have come early. Never another thought about it. All the little lost things, that's what the backrooms make me think of. But, okay, we're gonna try... Geez, what are we gonna try? I feel so much like leaning forward, and it's a lot of fun every time I realize that I can actually do that. Okay, this is just getting me back to where I was. There's some weird streaks along the walls, and I don't know if those are just like a lighting bug, or what. There's potentially a way out. It goes a long way, at least, so we'll be able to let loose on the gas a bit. There we can see the giant room and the cabinets that welcomed us in. Whoa. Did we just spark? There's little areas off to the side. Okay, this is an opportunity to get out, inspect the damage. Whoa! Look at this! This car has been flipped and absolutely crushed! That's insane. Imagine just ending up right here between a rock and a hard place, no way out. Actually, something I've always wondered about is the density of the walls in the back rooms. Like, can they actually be broken? They're so pristine, but they also may have never been tested against anything else. We've got some dents and dings, but for the most part, I think we're completely okay to keep moving. So let's keep it moving. And the driver of that vehicle had absolutely no chance. A long corridor down there, but nothing to see, so let's go towards something to see. Oh my... No, you're doing this? This is... Oh no, that is nothing short of stomach churning. I can see another vehicle over there. I can definitely imagine coming upon this and just getting out and giving up. Maybe this is the place where all the people arrive encased in cars, all of them abandoning them at one time or another for one reason or another. Alright, I can see a couple of places where maybe we can get out. But for now, we're just gonna creep forward and hope for the best. Wait, can we see up there? No, wrong pedal. If I get out right now, what happens? Just more lights. Daylight would have comforted me, but not happening here. Also, what I thought may have been a tunnel entrance appears to just be some sort of other wreck. Gotten this thing stuck on one wheel like 4 times now. Welcome to one of the most annoying control schemes ever. I'm not talking about the driving, although that is not at all suited to here. I'm just talking about the many binds and shortcuts of BeamNG. And I play DCS. God, what even is that over there? It's not another car wreck as far as I can tell. We need to get our left wheels out of this. Wait, look at that. That's a screaming statue of a face with a chair in its mouth. Okay, well, I aim to succeed where Mr. Van failed. The problem, is it even physically possible? Can we make this turn without getting one of our wheels stuck? Right, keep that out. Keep going. Please be something I can actually use. The worst thing would be something just propped up against the wall, but I don't think that's what it is. That was an actual backrooms boss fight back there, look. Okay, we're gonna need some gas for this. Get up the ramp. Thankfully, you can't... Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, we need to hit that with a little bit of speed, but not so much that we end up slamming into the wall. We're gonna need to take this thing again. Wait, what am I even hitting back there? There's a little lip. Up here, and boom. And you know what? If we hit the wall a little bit, who even cares? At least we're up here. And we've got a couple of different ways we can go. Instinct is to keep moving higher up. But darn if that doesn't look like a lot of fun. Oh hey, there's stuff at the end. Oh, keep the mirror off. I literally can't. What's at the end? Destruction. Literal piles of destruction. At this point, I'm having to spawn a new car for, like, everything, but, like, just look at this. I can't tell if there's a lip up there, a platform. Either these things are spawning in the air and falling down here on top of each other, a graveyard for these vehicles. Or they're coming in at full speed and flying off that ledge, and I don't know which is scarier. Okay, this is going to grind off the right side mirror, but it hardly matters. I'm going to try to have enough momentum to make it up here. We only need a little bit to get ourselves going. This one, I feel like I spend all my time just trying to turn around. But in this case, it shouldn't be the hardest. As long as we can get a little bit of momentum, we can move. Need to hit this with some speed, but then immediately hit the brakes, unless we swing to the left. Oh my god. Oh no. This went from being not designed for cars to being really not designed specifically for cars. That's an interesting position. Okay, let's reset our track IR point and just kind of align ourselves with this, I guess. Oof. Now I know why it was so important I use a specific vehicle. I have no idea how it actually expects me to do this. How can I even... I'm gonna have to get out and see if the wheels are aligned. Which, okay, so these are right here. I need to turn to the right, or to the left a bit. No. Oh god, that's so wrong. That's so wrong. That's so wrong. And I would bet... Haha, I would bet that the vehicle graveyard is just below us. Let me see. It is, isn't it? Oh, be so careful. It totally is. Look. So that means not that they ended up here, but that they actually tried it. At one time, somebody was trying it. This is the most obnoxious driving possible. Through here. Level out. And back in the big place. Alright. If we go from one end to the other and then swerve around... Well, I can see some openings. Actually, there's one at the far end of this chamber as well. Man, it's almost too big to explore on foot, but way too narrow to explore by vehicle. I'm very interested in the flickering lights around these corners. Not what I expected, and neither is a cavern. Look at you. What even is the source of light? After seeing so much covered furniture, you are an eerie sight. I kind of feel, though, like I'm so focused on just trying to control this thing that I'm having a hard time with the actual commentary. Well, that changes here because this is where the lights come in. Hang on, let's repair our vehicle and see if we can get better lights. Only marginally. Well, I guess it's the best we're gonna get. Okay, well, at least there's a sort of light at the end of the tunnel. Sorta. Really more a disembodied light in the middle of nowhere. Even the cave still has that drop tile ceiling. And even the cave still requires us to go to work. Hang on, put it in park. and get out. Two sets of cubicles in neat little rows. All in the middle of nowhere. This is a huge departure from what we'd been seeing. But hang on, we need to come up with our rally car instructions. That is so creepy. You've got the bright headlights in front and the red glow of the brake lights in back. Things are going to get really narrow up ahead. Really narrow, but where does it all come out? This is about as far as I'm willing to go without it. I'm trying to do a little bit of scouting, but ultimately we still gotta commit. Maybe if I had gone the other way, things would be easier? Oh, it doesn't matter. Like I said, trial by fire for my license. Yep. We're getting pretty bumped up, though. As long as the headlights are okay, we're okay. This is certainly next to impossible for a car, though. And the road splits off here. Alright, once again, I think I'm gonna get out and use this opportunity to walk around a little bit to see what we should be most interested in. Ah, look at that. We can actually see it by pressing Alt. Alt-N. And there it is. That's actually pretty good looking, although it's limited to one plane. Well, it makes sense. This is BeamNG, not Walking Simulator. No, Firewatch is Walking Simulator. Is all this just one big dead end? No? It actually goes on and on, but the more it goes on, the more I have to be careful. It's weird. I feel more liberated than ever not having to wind this thing through. Okay, I found the exit now. I just have to get it here. Look. See, this is why you're supposed to put plastic on your couches. This thing is rotted, falling apart. Who knows how long it's been here or what it was like before it got here. But for a second, I kind of thought there was a body on top of it decomposing. I think I maintained a decent sense of direction, but I don't remember... Oh, I don't remember my exact path back, and I know this isn't it. Will it take me there? Who knows? Are those my headlights I see? Huh, maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'm just closer to the back rooms again. See, this is what I was always worried about, the separation from the car. For all the frustration, this adds such a cool dynamic to something that, at this point, I've done a million times before. Hello, radiator. Sound of steam whispering in your pipes is music to my ears in the silence of the void. If anything, I think all voids could use some voices. Wait. Stop. Yeah, I'm starting to feel like I should have stopped a long time ago, but look, there's lights. And nothing I want. Here's something that we can only explore on foot. We'll even push our flashlight aside as we shimmy through. Yep, this is definitely a two-legged folks only sort of place. And this is what passes for a hangout. Stand under that metallic drone of the lights, in relative comfort for as long as you can stand it, before it becomes a nightmare and you're forced to move on again. Anytime I've explored a liminal map, I find that always what I crave is difference. Nothing specific, just something new to make it feel like I'm making progress, even if that has nothing to do with getting out of here. But I'm just kind of holding out hope that sooner or later this has to loop back in on something I recognize, right? This whole time, I've been so frustrated with the car, thinking it's big and unwieldy, and sure, it's harder with the wheel, but even with the gamepad, it would still be difficult. It's a dead end. We have to go all the way back. I think I miss my car. Here it is. Yes. Okay, well, we know that the way we want to go is this way. It might not be the easiest, but we do have a path and we have our vehicle. And sure, I could have gotten out myself, but this is my arc, right? I viewed this thing as so burdensome, but it got me here and I can't leave without it. All right, back in the saddle. I'm not sure if we can turn on the dome light, but the only thing we need to concern ourselves with is what's ahead. So we want to go forward and then to the left, and it's going to get very, very narrow, but it's what we need. Just wiggle around here a little bit before ultimately hanging a big left. And I feel so much safer in here than I did out there where a spider could grab me at any moment, huh? Do this. And to salvation. Which I now realize is not actually going to fit. Or will it? Well, not with that attitude. Let's go. You wily coyote'd me! Are you serious? I don't even know of any other way out. That's just straight up fake. With fake lighting and everything. It's not real. A fabrication. This is worse than the back rooms themselves. I guess with the sole exception that this is at least curved, in a way. But man, it's totally not built for this. It is kind of cool seeing the mirrors get knocked around. For as annoying as it is, it's not like I really need them. Unless there's any rear traffic, in which case, well, that would be a blessing all its own. No, wait, this might be new. Let's make sure we're not passing anything in the dark. Hey, look at that! There's a big opening up here. Although, I'm not sure I can actually maneuver in this room. Is there anything else? Let's go see what this is about. Whoa. A massive, massive tunnel that I'm amazed doesn't have any cars at the bottom of it. It's like they all make way for it. Let's see if we can find something out. There is a loop around this way. If this is worth it, this is so incredibly narrow. And the ceiling is so incredibly high. It's different. It is different, but there's no way a car makes it through there. Look! Look, look, look! Actual fake outdoors. But I'll tell you one thing, it's a playground for a car. I can't tell if I'm annoyed by this map being so utterly unsuited to vehicles, the whole medium it's built in, or if that's exactly its biggest strength. It's like I've been saying, it's this thing we need, and yet is such a ball and chain. Okay, well, it's literally stuck here. Bottom of the tunnel is literally smaller than the wheelbase, but... wow, what did I just do? Hardly matters now, because we have reached suburbia. It kinda is like making it to heaven after crawling through our eternal punishment. You're the most real looking. Are you also painted on? You are, actually. That's the one that had me fooled. I can't tell you how much I sank looking around thinking I had finally found something, and first realizing that the sky was just painted on rounded walls, and then that every object in the room was also painted onto said walls. It's so convincing at first. Just like that bear. But hey, being able to freely roam like this, it feels like being able to breathe for the first time. We can see the grass being kicked up beneath us and into our car, meaning it probably can be eaten, unlike that bear. Okay, now we're actually moving. Let's see how far that gets us. Oh, we're going over some windy hills. Let's try not to slam ourselves into a wall, but at this point, that may be a blessing. Ooh. See, this feels much more like I was expecting. Woo! Just imagine my stomach is actually dropping. It's not, but imagine. Fuck. Power lines coming from the walled sky, stretching off into the fog, which is even stranger, knowing it's contained in a room. That house, I can't tell, is that one actually real? It is, but contained within a fence. I think we should be able to make it. This map suddenly started being a lot of fun. Alright, let's bring you up here. And I guess put you... Right now you're in neutral. What did I bind for... Not that. Okay, I guess I don't have a bind to put you in park. So let's just get out. And hope for the best. You seem to be doing fine. Unfortunately, we cannot actually enter. The houses, like everything, are completely false, but look, in the fog, I can just barely make out a water tower. These rolling hills that represent the ideal, as if drawn by a toddler. Now, I've seen the suburbs represented in Backrooms media before, but this may be one of the most disturbing. Simply because the car allows it to be so vast. What's better than turning around is always going forwards, so what we're gonna do is do a loop around the house and go right back out the way we came in. There's still some considerations to be made, though. There's a hole in creation. A scale that would get boring, you know, ultimately these do have to be entertainment products. But the real horror of the Backrooms is the sense of infinity. The sense that it just never stops, and this is able to give us that. If anything, it's even more overwhelming since it trapped us in such an enclosed space before. Like I said, we want what we don't have in this situation. And I can always see more houses. It got us used to the idea of walls, but those walls, they're pretty far out. Speaking of far out, I just keep imagining, like, taking people from earlier decades and trying to explain to them what we do for fun. Because every individual component would require so much further explanation. There's some kind of tower here. Although I don't think our reception is going to be very good around here. We know now that there's no point in trying to reach the houses themselves. But the real danger is losing momentum. We kind of have to speed through this. All the while trying not to hit these fences, which are becoming more and more intrusive, not just surrounding the houses. I'm actually having an easier time moving in reverse than forward for some reason. Like, yeah, I just can't stay straight on this terrain. And every time I level out is when it really happens. I'm losing my sense of direction doing this. I don't know what else to do. It was fine until I slowed down, and now I can't do anything. I tried toggle all-wheel drive. I don't know if this car has it, but we'll see if that does anything. It doesn't appear to be doing a ton, but man, I need some extreme wheel turns to accomplish anything. I'm definitely moving better. That's for sure. Alright, so maybe that's what I needed. Maybe what I should be doing is following the power lines. Make sure we've got the momentum to make changes. Yep. And all the while, I have no idea if I'm just heading back the way I came. But it's definitely better than slowly sliding around corners. Yep, whoa, wow, we actually gained some air with that, so maybe we don't want to be going that fast all the time, and we're back where we came from. But at least we figured out how to get the most out of this vehicle. Whoa, what the heck is that over there? Ow. We care about this car in a character sense, but not in a need to preserve sense. Look at you. Okay, car, you're going for a walk. Look. All that running straight into that one house. That is so cool looking. It's like everything was all for you and to the detriment of everyone else. Like my neighborhood when I got my 4090. Let's head over there. Maybe at the end of it all, we'll get to see where this exits. This thing has the gall to put fake trees on the end. As if I'm not onto its game by now. There's a corner over there that may be perceived as a gap in the wall. But this house, looking in the windows, is just as fake as everything else. As fake as the hills and the walls that claim to be the distance. There is a method to all this. Everything seems to tell a story we know we'll never get the answer to. There's something over on that hill. Keep going. Going. A lone share. It's like somebody stopped to ponder eternity. Well, let's not become like them. Let's try and keep it moving. And hopefully this edge is actually something we can access, which it seems like it is. An edge only just barely big enough to accommodate us. Only visible from a distance from the shadow, betraying the little sliver between edges. I almost can't believe how hostile this is to actual driving. And I'm kinda up in the air between being annoyed at how difficult it is to just move through the terrain and thinking maybe that's the point. Whether it's worth it, I'm still not sure, but it's definitely a new take. Look up there. Is it just me, or is it getting maybe even a little bit narrower? It's definitely taken my right mirror off. Oh no, is it gonna expect me to make a turn at the end there? And thinking, well, that is a cool new take. I mean, we could always just walk. We're choosing to stay with the car. Do we really want to be without it? If anything, it's almost harsher having us be the one to keep doing this to ourselves. Oh no. It heard me. I think it heard me. Look! We're in a maze where the floor is like one of those childhood town play carpet sets. Well, I've finally been blessed with actual roads, and somehow it still fits in with the liminal aesthetic. Let's make our way through. The fog, the darkness, it actually feels like it's getting darker the further we go. I can't even recognize what some of these patterns are supposed to be. Well, those look like rail tracks. At least we can cross them without the thuds? Man, imagine if you could make custom maps like this for American Truck Simulator. Actually, scratch that. Don't give anyone ideas. Imagine trying to fit a semi through all this. The story that this is establishing, if there is to be any story, that's absolutely possible, and in fact probably has happened many times. Okay, we've reached one end. How do we go about escaping? We give kids a representation of driving about town in carpet form, and then scale it back up to be like the real thing, only preserving the flatness. You know, I'm calling it now. I think this shares a universe with Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Actually, look at this tunnel. It could just be an optical illusion because of the textures, but it almost looks like the bottom bends inward. It's uneven. Whoops. Don't want to be going in reverse. I was trying to brake. Well, hey, may as well gain some speed, right? 40 miles an hour. Never expect to reach that in here. It's divided like a two-lane road, but it's really one lane. Ooh. Into something that is functionally the same as the back rooms, but entirely of concrete. It makes it feel cold. You don't realize until you're in a place like this how much comfort the back rooms offer for as eerie as they are. And there's some rounded edges. Almost begging to be exploited by us. Now, part of me says we should be trying to stay in the middle. It's the safest. The other wants to do some sick flips in this little family car. From like, what, the 70s, 80s? This is the kind of thing I love, being tossed and turned. Dip. Well, it warned us. Is it worth trying anyway? Let's find out. Whoa! It was in fact a dip, but I can't help but feel it was something of an understatement. Oop. Was I supposed to do that? Look! A foggy forest. Well, this should be easier to navigate if nothing else, but it's not lost on me that it keeps getting darker. Thankfully, we do have tools for that. This is creepy, though. The low-hanging fog makes me think I'm gonna see some shadows moving here. Again, a dream and a nightmare. What is happening? Those trees are just disappearing. And it's because they're painted on. That's why, as I get closer, my headlights no longer cover them. You would think the cutout gag would get old after a while, but it still keeps finding new ways to get me. And there is an exit through here. That's a shame. I actually was kind of looking forward to spending some time in faux nature, the most convincing yet. I wonder if there are other ways out. Actually, it looks like there are. If you decide to try this out for yourself at the creator's Patreon, maybe there'll be something for you to see that I don't. Okay, so that is what we call another dip, and I will be going down it. Ooh, momentum doing what momentum does. Up and over. Worth it. So friggin' worth it. That was the most exhilarating thing we've done yet. There must be some way out, surely. Wait, am I just back where we entered? You know, it would seem that I am. Still, I'm gonna keep the car the way it is for a little while, because think about the dread that would start to creep in. I always talk about how in the back rooms, part of what's so scary about them is how they don't seem outwardly frightening until you consider the time scale. Nothing's happening to you, but you can't leave. And so you're gonna start to get hungry, thirsty, tired, and eventually it sinks in for you that that's how you're gonna succumb. Well, with this, we see it on our car. The dents, the dings, the broken windshield. It's a problem we didn't have before, and now it's one that's never going away. Well, until we fix it. We're definitely respawning this car before this is over. So say if we take a right in the forest instead, what happens then? I've also just realized the car auto-repairs upon teleporting, so I think it's not really teleporting, I think it's kind of respawning me. I don't see anything on the right, but we can still take, for lack of a better word, a different doorway, which is the one we first ran into. This one is a much narrower space. Oh god, I can practically feel that concrete ceiling scraping the paint off the roof. Things are brightening up just a little. But maybe I'm seeing what I want to see. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. Because the fog is definitely present still as well. When there's actually room to turn, the wheel is an enhancer. But it's just back and forth. And yep, narrower and narrower. I don't know where I am. Actually, I do. Sadly, I do. Look at all those little bumps. You know, I wonder if this isn't maybe a reaction to what all of the stunt and sandbox maps are. I mean, after all, this is a sandbox. We're just testing different vehicles in different environments, so this is what a lot of those maps end up looking like. Maybe it's kind of comparing them to liminal spaces that they already sort of come across that way. Anyways, gas, or as much as I can give it. Yep. Ow. That hurt, but it was ultimately worthwhile. We've got a whole bunch of ramps we can utilize. Once more, I'm thinking that our best bet is going to be to step out for a bit and try and figure out where we're meant to be going. Round objects. What these really are grinders. Places to make the most brutal destruction we possibly can. Maybe this level takes advantage of the game it's in more than I thought it did. Because all this is designed to shred us trying to come through. Whoa. Each of these ridges just kind of slopes into itself, but the shadows make it look like balconies. For a moment, you kind of register it as like the courtyard of some big building. But it's not, it's just shapes. I'm getting a pretty long way from the car again, though. Oh, good lord, this is narrow. Could the car even make it through here? My head barely makes it. I'm starting to think this is the way I'm actually supposed to go. Or perhaps not. Because this makes me think otherwise. I don't know, this not being entirely for people and not entirely for cars. Well, it's very on brand. Look at this. There's even human-sized doorways. And decidedly inhuman perfection of rounded objects. Each of these seems to be casting a shadow, which is kind of odd, unless those are holes in the ceiling, and each one came exactly down and did not move at all. No preservation of momentum. Whoa, we've got a bit of bounce to us. Orange cube. The one bit of color we've seen, and I'm not sure what to make of it. Red cube. The second color we've seen, and I'm not sure what to make of it. White cube. As you were. Well, I guess our best bet now is going to be to try and hit this and hope it's good. So, let's get in there for that little bit of added distance. And gun it. Yep. Well, that destroyed our engine. A tempting, but no doubt very dangerous stunt before us. Can we perhaps slip by and underneath? Oh, that goes straight down. Would not be advisable for a healthy car. This looks like a way through. Whoa. I keep getting my wish, but the monkey's paw keeps curling. Look. We're wandering a barren facsimile of a city. A facility. Wide streets, but nothing but fog and emptiness. Some buildings, one that sort of resembles a parking structure, are open. Okay, if we don't find another way out, we'll climb to the top of that. There's a few such buildings. There's a weird reverse difficulty curve to this. Like, it starts out as the most nightmarish possible scenario for a car, and constantly widens. Each area has kind of outdone the last. There's even alleys for us to crawl around in, but I think I've had quite enough of that. Maybe we found our way out up there. Yeah, it looks like there's a gap. We just need to climb to the top of this building, and in order to do that, we need to make our way up these. Okay. Man, I adore doing this with track IR. The immersion in being able to lean forward to try and see something that's above us, unparalleled. I mean, I got the wheel for Truck Sim, I got the track IR for DCS, and seeing them come together like this is actually kind of a dream come true. In fact, maybe after this, I've got it all set up. Maybe I'll even try to play Night Drive again. It's been a couple years. Alright. we just gotta be careful a little bit longer. Making our way up these ramps. Luckily, they're pretty shallow ramps, so we shouldn't have to worry too much. We've just got to do the repetitive task over and over. But this is much, much easier to handle. Okay, this should be the top level. And so long as we can keep ourselves from driving over the edge, it should just be a little hop away. It's just that, of course, this ramp has to be placed in the most annoying position possible. You know what? Still a cakewalk compared to the earlier stages. But over, of course, it's terrifying to be crossing that gap, not being able to see where we're going exactly. But thankfully, we did all our scouting down below. All of this just to climb one level. Ooh, that's deep. Walls are our biggest hindrance and greatest comfort. Yep. And I don't know about you, but I'm finding that this really messes with my sense of scale. Like, of course, we're moving more quickly. It oddly makes this place feel smaller than it is until I look around and kind of start comparing things with myself. And then it gets a lot more strange. Anything back here? There is not. I love hearing the squeal of tires. It means we're moving. Okay, this way then. Hang on, there's something back there. What is this? Some sort of pattern, but nothing I can climb. Other question, what is this? Oh, not a tunnel. I have been reverse Wile E. Coyote'd there. Man, commutes these days are killer, huh? What are we looking for? Well, whatever that light is over there would probably be a good place to start. Yeah, it definitely stands out in a big way. So much narrower than expected. No, this has got to be it. This has got to be it. Headlights off. Oh no, are you gonna pull the same thing on me again? Whatever this is, I want to leap out with excitement. Whoa! We're greeted with music and everything, lapping waves. This is about the closest you can get to heaven after everything we've been through, but look. Well, first of all, we can't actually see where we came from anymore, only the skid marks we left on the wall. But we can get close enough to see the individual pixels, the colored tiles that make this up. The bubbles in the sky. Actually, I see some more in the distance. It's like being in a train set amongst game pieces. Let's go. And we had best stay straight to do this. The music actually seems to be getting louder, or at least clearer. I've been seeking different? Well, this is different. A place where the cars can frolic free for all eternity. Well, those hills may give us a run for our money. There's a big green... Well, I think of them as Interactive Buddy over there. Anybody remember Interactive Buddy? Where are my millennials at? Just be careful we don't end up in the water, which is actually further away than it appears. Some water falling in a sheet from nowhere in particular? There's even a biodome back there. Well, the only thing that could ruin this for me at this point is if Pauly Shore is here. Anybody else remember biodome? Where are my millennials at? Oh no! There's like just full water back here. Engine broken. All I did was submerge it. So here's my issue is I kind of thought this would just be like a sheet of water. Not a cube of water, which is what I kind of suspect it's going for now. Yeah, see, a little bit of perspective would have done wonders for me there. I mean, the city, clearly part of the backdrop, but it's amazing how much of this is real. Absolutely gorgeous. And just think, all of this comes right after we've been in the dullest, grayest place ever. We're running into more problems with not being able to keep straight on a hill. But it was worth it to touch the sky for a moment underneath this orb. And with more orbs all around. I'm starting to think that what this whole map has been about is about withholding. Withholding freedom, withholding stimulation, and making you struggle for every little bit of movement, you know? All said and done, I'm kinda glad I used the wheel. Windmills windmilling, even though I kinda doubt there'd be any wind in here. And if there is, it would raise so many questions, but I feel like in our position we'd have stopped asking questions long ago. Like a boat out at sea? It's very easy to lose depth perception with relation to the ground, I'd say. Is this our ultimate exit? A promise of freedom? I honestly can't tell if that's just the base holding the monitor up, or another hole in reality. It seems to just be the base. So, where does one go from here? Is that the end? I can see a fruit display off in that direction. Absolute playground. But, come on. I'm wondering if there's maybe like a land bridge I can cross to get over to that elevated platform. Because that would be my next guess. The reflection coming off of that base is blinding. But there we have our land bridge, so I'm going to try and take that. It's on a hill, so we're going to need some speed. Yep. It's not going to be enough, and it's spinning us. This is near impossible to drive on again. Reaching the top, we can actually see that there is a gap. This is not our final paradise. We can see an opening in the dome over there. We can try and hit this with as much speed as possible, but we're going to bounce a bit. Go through that, try not to lose too much speed hitting the water. And up and over. As long as we're here, we're good. Exhaust damaged? What do I care? I can hear it dragging back there. There we go, just leaving scratches on paradise. Hardly matters. Well, there's actually no way through. There's water in the way. Hang on. Let me out. Actually, if I free cam around, what I'm seeing is that there's actually a grass path that runs along the outer edge. There's actually another grass pathway hidden behind the hill, behind the monitor. Still, there is something oddly relaxing about walking the one narrow path that guides you to your destination. Seems to get ever narrower the further we go. But eventually, we'll have the comfort of wall on one side. I think the most abused component of this vehicle for the adventure is going to be the right side mirror. Yeah, look at that. We gotta go right up to the edge, and then drive around the side of this sphere like Evel Knievel. And there's our actual exit. Don't dip into the water. Isn't it odd that this narrow little stretch is one of the only places I can freely go 40 miles an hour and not have to worry about much? It's one of the closest things to an actual highway, just with a slight curve to it. Well, we had the opportunity to get here, so it's not just a distraction. What happens if we cross into the Twilight Zone? The stars in the sky, the blinking streetlights. And are they even going out behind me? I keep hearing that electric sound. And look at the way the lights cross through our cabin like this. It's like the nightmare version of a car ride back home with your parents at night. The eternal neighborhood. The darks and the lights so harshly contrasting each other. And the worst part is, the light seemingly has no source. Okay, hang on. I'm seeing things in both directions, so we're gonna spend some time here. I almost fear that there's gonna be a sheer drop in the shadows left by the buildings. All those windmills moving in perfect unison. And steps of what look like buildings in the distance. Streetlights overhead, all red, just like everything else. I can even see little sticks catching in the distance. Are those, like, barren trees? Wow, this area is massive. And I can see every time when I pass through the shadows of those blades. It's almost like blinking. We can even see the edges of the walls. Easy to forget that the stars, too, are just painted on. Wait, no, get away from that. If I'm gonna go down these streets, I'm gonna go down them properly. If I turn on my lights, it gives me a little bit of relief, but not a ton. Not what I really need, which is to eliminate the dark gulfs in the middle. No. Not leafless trees, but power poles. As if those are this place's forest. This is what it's like looking for a gas station in Camden at night, I imagine. It's apocalyptic imagery, but completely silent. Man, being able to look around in the cabin, I don't know what it is, but it makes me really appreciate the lighting. Makes me feel like I'm here, almost like VR would. Being able to look up and see the stars becoming tiny glimmers as they stretch upward. Because they really are physically farther away, enough for me to notice. But I think we've reached the far lands, because things are starting to break down. Buildings left on their sides, like they were toppled over when the sky dropped down next to them. All of it has been worth it for this. Those early parts of the game were a struggle. But it's all coming together now. And look over there, there's a water tower. Maybe we should try making our way to that. Let's just try not to ruin our wheels on the curb here. It seems like this eventually terminates back into suburbia. But the grid pattern at least makes it easy to navigate. We are in the Field of Giants. I'm just wondering if our exit isn't further down. We're back where we started, and now I'm just speeding down the road. This is over 60 miles an hour. It almost doesn't feel like it. That's what I was seeing. A million cranes and flat ground beneath them. All here for the building of nothing. Well, it's not entirely flat. Actually, we are starting to come upon some houses, sitting on their grid-like plots with the houses themselves at odd angles. And this whole mod is almost a fake-out, isn't it? It starts out just being a regular backrooms map with a car, and it actually ends up doing so many original ideas. I don't typically expect to see a pair of holes in the stars like that. Oh, it's not a tunnel entrance, it's just a couple of particularly dark houses. Look, some of these houses are even facing... Oh, I thought they were facing away from us, but I guess that's a back porch. Alright, I guess our eternal search continues then. A nightmare made playable. Because such a big aspect of dreams, I think, is looking for something, searching, either for an object of desire or a way out of whatever situation you're in. But it just never seems to present itself. Well, what am I feeling now? Let's try and reach our liminal speed record. Can we hit 100 miles an hour? We're at 90? 100, unless those are kilometers per hour. In which case, I don't know what that translates to. But I'm seeing some massive structures over there, actually. Things I didn't see before. And I destroyed my tires. You don't need those, right? But look. Gaps between the stars. That's why I couldn't find my way out earlier. It's like skyscrapers made of the things. I'm lazy, so we'll continue to drive on 3 flats for a little while. It is a giant highway overpass. Look, it was worth it, okay? I was feeling the need. Okay, this is a very specific memory. So I still remember 20 years ago, I was a kid, and my family was driving down to Florida to go to Disney World. And so that's New York to Orlando, and I remember, like, just barely waking up in the back seat and looking around, and under all these bright lights, this absolutely huge spaghetti interchange. I know now this was the entrance to Virginia, but this is what it felt like, and I still kind of get goosebumps every time I come down the same highway, that particular stretch of I-95. I wonder if maybe we can find a place to get on ourselves? This twisted tangle made even worse in this harsh lighting. Hard to tell where things begin and end. We're actually getting to the point where we're in amongst the support columns. Just right in the middle of the street. Which are getting increasingly erratic. Well, there's trees over there. Well, there's something going on over here. Hey, if anything, these flats are making it a little easier to control. Though if we end up on terrain again, I'm sure that'll quickly cease to be the case. I mean, let me know in the comments, do you consider this to be more creepy or more comfy? I can see it falling either way. We've got these big trees just hiding behind tall fences. Only just kept away from us. Impossibly high overpasses, you know? I read someone's analysis recently where they basically said that in a lot of ways, more extreme liminal spaces are what things felt like to us as kids, and well, with the story I just gave you, I think I see that more than ever before. I think we'll just keep going down this way. See how far this takes us, unless I happen to see another fault in these stars. But in these moments where we can take our beat-up old bucket of bolts and just cruise, that's where this map really shines, I think. Not trying to do car acrobatics, not trying to squeeze around corners, but just watch all of this pass us by. Imagine trying to navigate this had we left our car back in the caves. I think the last few sections are where it's really taking advantage of BeamNG. But it looks like that's gonna come to an end now. Well, the road, not the taking advantage part. Actually, it stretches off in both directions. Into forest over there. And I don't know what over there. Let's have a look at forest first. We're at the base of the overpass. But unless we can find some sort of on-ramp, I think we're mostly just going back to where we came from. We've been mostly parallel to it all this time. Okay, we'll try the other direction. A dead town? It even looked for a moment like I could... not really, but yeah, maybe see in through the windows, yeah! Oh, this is so creepy. Like I'm creeping through a small town after sundown, after everybody's closed and everything's gone to bed. Or if it's completely abandoned. I'm just so not used to seeing buildings with no lights on whatsoever. I guess the sky does enough. Alright, we've come all this way. You've got to show me something. Are we really heading all the way back now? Left, right, left, right. Well, I say left, right, in keeping oriented with the way we came in, which has kind of been how I keep my compass. It has that small town feeling because of the architecture of the buildings, but then it just never ever stops. We're going over 50 right now. And that massive overpass is becoming more and more prominent, looming as we speed forward. I get the feeling it's my ultimate goal. Look, there's little lights over there, like a parking lot. Or maybe gas station canopies, it's so hard to tell. Come on, we've got to be near, and there's the edge. That overpass goes straight into the wall. Whoa, what is going on with this? Things are loading in as I approach. Construction sites. Well, the way their beams are going right down into the road, it's gonna be a little harder to avoid hitting something. There's more of those lights. Again, just suspended in the air, but I just keep ending up back where I came from. I truly have no idea where I'm going. And it's not a trivial matter to check somewhere else. Hey. Well, this is new. field of stop signs. And a repeating signal. I don't feel good about getting out here. Wonder if that's Morse code? And if it is, what it means. I don't know if I've stuck around for long enough for anybody to tell. But all I know is I've got to get going. Just another product of the zone or a warning? Last time I encountered a stop sign, it actually did lead to a dead end. Coming back here, it looks like we actually can not only reach those buildings in the background, but come here and find residential houses textured as the stars. I wonder why a house would need to blend in. Well, I guess you can ask the folks over in Levittown. But if we make our way to that city, what will we find? Seeing it rush up to meet us is its own kind of feeling. Actually, it looks like some of them are partially consumed by the star wall. Star wall is one of those terms that you find yourself uttering and just kind of having a dread realizing this is your reality. My God, they're full of stars. Stop signs, a little neighborhood. But once more, I'm left completely adrift. There's actually a big bridge up there suspended. I wonder if there's any way to go about reaching that, but I kind of doubt it. I've been stuck here for a long time, and I still keep finding new things. Well, there's a forest down this way, too. And the bridge continues over that, though you can hardly see it up there. In fact, just by the construction sites, but as always, just leads us to a dead end. Here we see a section of overpass running right through the star towers. Wait. Hey, are you coming back down to street level? Oh my God, this has taken so long to find. There we are, the one point that'll allow this, and look at that. Even on the overpasses, there are houses. Almost completely blocking the way, even crossing the median. Dude, this is such cool and original imagery. Okay, well, what does that tell us? It tells us that there's more to be done. Finally, after all this time, we're cruising on actual highways. This definitely feels more like our vehicle's element, and it is more than ready to stretch its legs. One thing I'm worried about is if even this will start to split off, because you saw how complicated that whole array was. I think we're following it right down the stretch we were just on below. I'd like to think I learned my lesson about going 100 miles an hour and then trying to brake all at once. Did I? I guess we'll have to wait and see. At least the houses have stopped for the time being, but this may be what I was afraid of. Alright, be gentle on the brakes. Yep. But not really. The signs are guiding me, and they're also acting as a barrier so that I have no choice. And in moments like this, I kind of appreciate having no choice. What I don't appreciate is having... Oh, look at that. The supports are coming right down in the middle. And it's a dead end. Well, look, we came through stars to get here, didn't we? No such luck this time. I mean, if we could hop this barrier, we could try to get up over there. The only thing I can think is trying to untangle all this. I just don't see how we do it. There is a gap here we can use. Yep. Man, this really is the I-95 entrance to Virginia experience, isn't it? Or you could put it this way. It's kinda like being a driver in one of my city skyline cities. I could really use the pick-me-up after all this. Oh, hey, look. Another way out, but only if we hop the barrier. This is a bit of annoying design. We essentially have to choose the right spot further back, or we'll have no chance. It looks like there's more openings than usual, but at this point, if there's a turn I want to take and there's a barrier in the way, I'm just going to start using cheats to hop it. Because I've spent enough time here. Problem is actually being able to see above those barriers to be able to tell in the first place. Like, see this right here? Yep, I guess left was wrong. Simple as that. Actually, the best way to seek this out is to see those signs, because they may not be any help in picking the right side. They do tell us which way to go, and I am noticing, well, a noticeable trend that we're going higher and higher. Always upward. I think if we keep following that path, we have to find something, right? That leads between the buildings. And I'm just calling the walls buildings at this point, because there's no functional difference. But this leads upward. We're getting high enough now that we're not really seeing a whole lot of overpass above us. But in the distance, we can see just how much more opportunity there is. Alright, thankfully this time we seem to have chosen wisely, and we'll be keeping right. These are some very dangerous to vehicle conditions, though. Hey, is that just the overpass dipping down? Or does it lead off a sheer cliff? I really am all out of trust, I think. Still, it is nice to be rising above it all. I think we should have gone left. This whole thing really is just like seeing a bowl of spaghetti and realizing slowly but surely that it's all one noodle, and trying to find the end. We're just turning in the dark now. Hardly anything to see. Wait, wait! I think this is it. There's an opening. I've been looking for this for like an hour, no joke. We're out. It was hundreds of feet up in the air, but we found it. And now there's no such comfort in the sky as a starry night. Just our own headlights on open road. The streetlights are there, but not on. This is the realest thing we've seen. And right into the sewers. And we're back to painstaking turning. Not quite as bad as the back rooms. But hey, at least now we've got a terrible smell in the car. That's not coming out when we leave here. Alright. I'm no quitter. Let's duck under these beams, ducking my actual head as if it'll make any difference. Well, at least the fog is back. Man, that whole thing kind of felt like a grand finale. Just how big can these maps actually get? Look, there are couches here as well. But there's no false pristineness to this. Pieces are missing, pieces are rusted. And you wonder if it's a natural process or if it just created itself that way. Hardly matters now because we've found a tunnel. Straight from the sewers to a massive parking structure. I guess this is the closest BeamNG is gonna get to exploring IKEA, huh? And we can't go this way. So, where do we go? My wheel is groaning at me. I don't know if you heard that. Okay, there we go. It's gonna be a lot of repetitive up and over. Yeah, it has all the shapes of going that way, but in reality, it's always gonna be right behind us. I can't believe this is still going, man. If we can turn around fast enough, you know, just give us enough room. Well, I'm definitely better on the wheel than I... Whoa, look at that, look at that! In the beginning, we were discovering so many wrecks. It's so disturbing to find another one here after all this time. I like to imagine they didn't come here with their owner. Still, for the past while, it's definitely felt like up was the way to go. Like we're literally ascending out of the back rooms. Almost as if we fell down here to begin with. And verticality in the fog makes for a dizzying sense of height. It also doesn't help that it's spinning me around over and over. Come on, how many more floors of this? At least this is, thus far, mercifully linear. Every car serves as a reminder this could happen to you. But I think my brain is sort of registering, hey, you've climbed really high and still not come out of this fog. Okay, no, screw my past self. I was right to do this with a wheel. Ooh. Identical pickup trucks lined up, only one with its lights on. Swing around and see if there's anybody home, but somehow I doubt it. Still... Oh my... Okay, there was a jump scare. I was asking for it, but after all this time, I wasn't expecting it. Kind of brilliant, though. Well, at least we're at the point where some of the streetlights are starting to act like they're on. Twisted sculptures made from trucks. And I don't even know what to think about that, because what are they standing on? I'm not gonna lie, it feels almost like a threat from the space itself. Oh, what? Are we just going straight back down now? That's worse than I thought. I can almost feel my stomach dropping a little bit, especially as I see how much is out of shape. Just how long those floating trucks actually are. I'm gonna give it to this. This is a really rough mod in the beginning. It's hard to get through. It's a pain to even move from the starting area, but it gets massively better as it goes. I don't know, I think maybe it'll deter people in its beginning, but then again, being a Patreon exclusive, I guess if you're there, you are familiar with this creator and everything they've done for the BeamNG community. So you kind of know what the score is going to be. But even this is massive compared with the other maps I played from them. Well, the toll gates are up, so I guess we're good to move on. I must admit, I feel judged from those booths. Weight limit 10 tons. Can we drive up those? I'm not sure. Look, we can see even more corkscrews in the distance. Maybe even harsher than this one. Hang on, I'm gonna go over there just to see if we can enter. Down here. Thump. Well, that's a point of no return. We could have any one of these. It very much feels stuck in the 80s, though. It... Well, this certainly defeats the trend of always going up. Question is, what's our reward at the end? Oh, great. Straight into the foggy abyss. Well, I was tired of living anyway. Oh, never mind, it's just a little roller coaster. Yep. I feel stared down, judged, in a way. Wait. There's an inverted parking garage, and, you know, this feels hostile. If I wasn't paying attention, we're at perfect height for those lights to impale me through the windshield. Okay, I'm gonna spin this around so we can have a little bit of speed and hit that ramp straight on. Yep. Just gotta maintain this turn. And we'll get there. Eventually. Presumably. Hey, what does this actually connect onto again? I've yet to actually see something connect above me, and that's really concerning. All the way up. Ooh. Imagine falling off right there. This is starting to feel less like a parking garage and more like one of my Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 custom maps. And hey, wouldn't you know it? More spirals. Those lights are blinking in malfunction. Ooh, passing directly under one. It heard I was talking bad about it. Oop. Here now. And meeting some of the neighbors. Looks like we actually do have some choices of direction here. Yep. My question is, which are the right ones? We're along every rooftop now. Maybe we should be heading towards what looks to be glass in the distance. I'm moving back through my own seat. Like the pearly gates. Or some kind of desert ranch. Yep. There's something over there. Is that a full trailer? Because that's just what we need, is this guy pulling that along. The only thing that could make this better is the back rooms with cargo. Oh, not just a trailer. A whole bunch of cola overturned. Well, if I needed a snack, now's the opportunity. Likely the only opportunity I'm ever gonna get. Okay, I need some assurance that I'm not just going around in a big circle, though. Wait, is this the exit? Oh my god, finally. Okay, I've just kind of been hopping around up there for a long time. Here's our exit! I don't know what I expected. But hey, it's brighter. And it gives us a chance to accelerate past these walls, so if I happen to hit a wall at the end, well, I'll at least have died free. Oh, those lines are starting to reach out and guide us back. Almost like skid marks from tires, consuming the world around us. Warping and stretching in front of us, but really we know we're on the same road. We're at 80 miles an hour now. Looks like we're reaching the end as it fades to blackness, so I'm gonna start slowing. Ah! My lights are on. It's like something came to check on me, like it never expected anyone to get this far, or maybe this is just the process when someone does. Totally blind. Am I still in my car? Have I earned my salvation? Oh, wait. I can move now. Oh, hey, I can move now. We can get right back to the beginning. Oh, this was so freaking cool. And hey, if you want to try it out for yourself, you can do so at the Patreon right over here. I'm going to come over here so you can scan this QR code and join one of these lovely folks on the wall. When we were in the earlier levels, I was a little bit skeptical of this concept, I'm not going to lie. It felt like it was just a more annoying way of doing what I'd already done a million times before, but after a few points, it really started to hit its stride, especially towards the end. And I can't fault it for that. It's an art piece, you know? It's experimental. And certain things about it I didn't really feel worked in this game, but there were other things that really worked, and were able to do things that not only worked better with the vehicle addition, but actually did new things with Liminality as a whole, because it was able to have a much larger scale, which really conveyed the hopelessness that is really always supposed to be there, but normally just wouldn't be fun. I mean, that's the difficulty with horror, right? How do you make something fun and entertaining and absolute pain? Well, this gave us one blessing that allowed us to see both. And I like the idea of doing it in this just beat up old car, something that is in all ways unremarkable and becomes your chariot, your burden in the beginning and your lifeline later on. In fact, if this weren't BeamNG, I may have even made the decision to ditch it early, only to really, really regret that in the later stages. The added immersion of the wheel and track IR really helped me engage with the movement, and when you're exploring, having the movement feel like gameplay really adds a lot, and being able to kind of move around within the car made it feel like my own little hotel room on wheels. My safety, my burden, and the only thing keeping this from being a whole lot harder. I feel like there's so much more I want to say about it, but I don't know how this is going to edit, and I don't know how long this is going to be already, and I probably said most of it before in one way or another, so I guess I'll just leave it with, it was a very refreshing way to do something I've done a bunch of times. And, you know, not everything hits, but again, it's experimental, and the things that hit in ways I've never really seen done this way before. And that's why we experiment, right? And if you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more creepy and comfy content. If you have any ideas for other videos you think I should do, the best place to suggest that will be at the Discord, which I will link in the description. If you want to try this map out for yourself, that link will also be in the description if you subscribe to the Patreon right here, so a link also on the screen. If you want to support me on Patreon, that link will be in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next one.